Have you ever spent your entire life loving and sacrificing for someone, only to realize that you were never truly seen? I always believed that marriage was about companionship, about facing the years together. For 4 decades, I stood beside David, quietly supporting him, ensuring that our life remained stable and peaceful. But there was one question I had never asked myself. What about me? Until one night, beneath the dazzling lights of an elegant gala, a man asked me a simple yet profoundly heavy question. Helen, when was the last time David truly saw you? The question made me freeze because I didn't know the answer. And in that very moment, I realized that perhaps, for my entire life, I had been invisible within my own marriage. I never imagined that a seemingly harmless conversation could shake the foundation of my world. But as the truth unraveled, I was left facing a question I had avoided for far too long. Would I continue to live in silence, or would I finally reclaim myself? Don't forget to like the video, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to stay updated with our latest stories. I never imagined I'd find myself in such a situation at 62. Life, after all, was supposed to be predictable by now. Mornings spent tending my garden, afternoons filled with quiet reading, and evenings beside my husband, David, as we reminisced about the years behind us. But one evening, a private conversation changed everything, leaving me questioning everything I thought I knew. It all started with a corporate gala hosted by David's company. He had worked there for over 3 decades, rising through the ranks with unwavering dedication. His boss, Robert Calloway, was a man of quiet authority, tall, distinguished, and carrying an effortless air of confidence. I had only exchanged polite pleasantries with him at previous events. But that night was different. The gala was held at a luxurious hotel in downtown Boston. Grand chandeliers bathed the room in a golden glow, and the sound of clinking glasses blended with the soft melodies of a live jazz band. I wasn't particularly fond of these events. I much preferred the comfort of home. But David had insisted, so I had slipped into a modest navy blue dress and agreed to accompany him. Everything seemed perfectly ordinary at first. David was engaged in deep conversations with his colleagues, and I kept myself occupied by chatting with the other spouses. That was until Robert approached me. Helen, may I have a moment? His deep voice carried over the hum of the room. I hesitated. What could David's boss possibly want with me? But I offered a polite smile and nodded, following him as he led me away from the main ballroom. The air grew quieter as we stepped into a private lounge, a cozy space with dim lighting, a crackling fireplace, and plush leather armchairs. The tension in the air was subtle, but undeniable. My heart quickened as I took a seat across from him. I hope I'm not pulling you away from anything important, he said with an almost nervous smile. Not at all, I assured him, though curiosity bubbled inside me. What's on your mind? He exhaled, rubbing his hands together as if searching for the right words. Then, finally, he spoke. It's about David. At that, I straightened in my chair, my stomach tightening. Is something wrong? He hesitated. Not exactly, but there's something I think you should know. I could feel the weight of his words before he even said them. Helen, he continued, his voice both gentle and firm. I've known David for a long time. I've watched him build his career, support his colleagues, and provide for his family. But through it all, I've noticed something. I swallowed hard. What is it? He leaned forward slightly, his gaze locking onto mine. He doesn't appreciate you the way he should. The words landed like a heavy stone in my chest. My breath caught, and an immediate wave of defensiveness rose within me. I don't understand. My voice wavered. David is a good husband. He's always been. I know he is. Robert nodded. But tell me, Helen, when was the last time he truly saw you? Not just as his wife, but as the remarkable woman you are? I opened my mouth to respond, but no words came. I've seen the way you look at him, Robert continued softly. You stand in the background at events like these while he loses himself in work. You give so much, but does he give back? A lump formed in my throat. I wanted to protest, to tell him he was wrong, but something deep inside me wavered. I don't mean to overstep, he said, leaning back slightly. But sometimes, an outsider sees what those inside cannot. I exhaled slowly, my mind racing. Robert studied my face, then offered a small, knowing smile. Helen, you deserve to be seen. The words struck a chord I hadn't realized existed within me, and for the first time in a long while, I wasn't sure what to feel. That night, as I sat in the car beside David on the drive home, his hands gripped the steering wheel, his gaze focused on the dark road ahead. Did you have a good time tonight? He asked. It was a question he asked after every event, out of habit, not curiosity. I hesitated. It was interesting. Good, he muttered absently. And just like that, the conversation ended. When we arrived home, David did what he always did. Took off his jacket, set his keys on the counter, and retreated to his office to check his emails. I stood in the kitchen for a long moment, staring at the empty space where he had just been. I wasn't angry at him, not exactly. He had always been this way. But Robert's words had unearthed something in me, something I couldn't push back down. I walked to the bedroom and caught my reflection in the mirror. 62 years old. My once auburn hair now carried streaks of silver. Faint lines traced my face, reminders of the years I had lived. But my eyes were still the same. And in them I saw something I hadn't noticed in a long time. Loneliness. Had I really gone unnoticed for so long? The next morning, after David left for work, I found myself dialing a number I never thought I would. Robert answered on the second ring. Helen. There was a faint note of surprise in his voice. I took a slow breath. Do you have time for a cup of coffee? A pause. And then, softly, of course. An hour later, I sat across from him at a quiet cafe near the lake. The air smelled of roasted coffee beans and fresh pastries, and outside, the autumn leaves danced in the breeze. Robert looked at me with quiet curiosity. I wasn't sure if I'd hear from you. I stirred my coffee, watching the swirls of cream blend into the dark liquid. I wasn't sure if I'd call. He nodded, waiting. I exhaled slowly. I've been thinking about what you said. His expression remained unreadable. And then I met his gaze. You were right. Something flickered in his eyes. Helen, I'm not saying you should regret your life, but somewhere along the way, did you forget how to want something for yourself? Tears pricked the corners of my eyes. I had spent decades ensuring David was supported, that his world remained intact. But what about me? I swallowed hard. I don't know who I am outside of my marriage. Robert gave me a small, knowing smile. Then maybe it's time to find out. I let out a breathy, nervous laugh. That sounds terrifying. Maybe, but also exciting, don't you think? I didn't answer. But for the first time in decades, I was ready to find out. Marriage is not just about stability. It is about understanding and appreciating each other. No one deserves to live in silence, fading into the background of their own life. Helen spent her youth loving and caring for David, but she never stopped to ask herself if she was receiving the same in return. Helen's story is not just about marriage. It's about the value of every individual. We often forget that beyond being a spouse, a parent, or a partner, we are still individuals with dreams, emotions, and desires of our own. Don't let routines and responsibilities consume you to the point where you lose yourself. The most important lesson: you deserve to be seen, to be heard, and most importantly, to live for yourself. No matter how Helen's story ends, what truly matters is that she dared to ask the question, to face the truth, and to choose her own path. No one has the perfect answer right away, but only by stepping out of your comfort zone can you truly find happiness. If this story resonated with you, don't forget to hit like, share your thoughts in the comments, and subscribe to our channel so you never miss another meaningful story.